Today we have a special guest who's the president of YCP San Diego, and he's got an amazing event coming up on February 21st. Mark that in your calendar for all of you who love business, because the spokesperson of the event is the former CEO of Clorox Company, and also was the COO of Coca-Cola North America. So you can only imagine how much experience he has and insight that he will provide to all of us. The event is for free, so that's obviously a plus. It's being held at University of San Diego, but I'll let the president of YCP explain this for the San Diego chapter. And YCP stands for Young Catholics Professionals. 3 balls, 2 strikes, pressure is on. This is where we discuss real estate, property improvement, and business. Together, we'll strategize on how to win. Welcome to the Full Count. Okay, John, welcome to the Full Count channel. I'm glad to have you on today, you being the president of YCP and the amazing event that's coming up on February 21st. If you can kind of give a little background about yourself and YCP and what this event's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on, Andrew. As Andrew mentioned, my name is John McGonigal, and I am the current president of the San Diego chapter of Young Catholic Professionals. Andrew mentioned our event on February 21st. We are having an executive speaker series featuring Donald Knauss, who's the former CEO of Clorox and chief operating officer at Coca-Cola North America.
Those are some heavy roles right there.
Yeah, that's just a few of the positions that he's held. So it's definitely, we're very excited to have him come and speak to us.
So he's going to give a lecture. What exactly will that event really, what type of topics will he cover there?
Specifically leadership in the workplace.
Okay.
And then just based on the phone conversation that I had with him a couple
weeks
ago. Yeah, I was able to speak with him on the phone. I had to go through like 4 different people to get him on the ringer, but I think the Secret Service might have been in there somewhere.
I mean, because he's on in terms of like the lateral position of business people in the United States, he's on the higher echelon, considering he's held these high roles. I mean, it's not like he's been in charge of a small company. This is a large based company, so he's got a ton of experience.
Absolutely. When you have $50 million to donate to a college, I think that
is that what he did at where the event's taking place?
Yeah. So Donald is actually on the board of trustees here at the University of San Diego.
Okay.
And the School of Business, which is where the executive speaker series will be happening, is actually called the Knauss School of Business.
Okay, named them after him.
Yeah, so he's the chairman of the board of trustees at USD.
Okay.
And he's a very influential person.
Yeah, I bet.
At not only that institution, but several others.
For sure. So this is a free event on February 21st that everyone should go to if you're interested in business, faith-based as well.
And how to intermarry those two.
Right.
Also.
Right.
So, it's the event is open for everybody. Yes, our organization is based on faith. However, it's open to a diverse group of young 20 and 30-year-olds that are either looking to, grow in their professional lives, grow in their spiritual lives, grow in their personal lives, or some combination of all 3. Yeah.
So this is really a great opportunity to pick the brain of a business titan, where you don't have to be going to as a student at University of San Diego, but we actually have the opportunity to see him, speak to him, and ask him some questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So another thing that Donald mentioned when I spoke with him on the phone was that basically he wants it to be more of an interactive discussion, rather than him speak at us.
Yeah.
So he said he's planning to bring a PowerPoint presentation, and then the venue that it's in, it's called the Nexus Theater, and it's like basically a larger meeting room that seats about 80 to 100 people.
Oh, cool.
And just as he's going through what examples of good leaders to him have been,
right.
And then specific practical scenarios that he has faced, where he's had to implement that leadership in his own life. He'll be welcoming questions from the general audience, and so it should be pretty good. More like a college lecture than an actual auditorium level speech.
Very cool. So can you break up the situation with how the event takes place? I think part of it's free, right? From 7:15 and on.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me run through the schedule just for anybody that's interested in coming. So we are going to have a members only meet and greet from 6:30 to 7.
Members only being YCP members?
Yes. Okay. So YCP members, there is a membership program that you can see on our website. Nice. Which, Andrew, I think you'll put it in the description.
I will put it in the description of the website so that if you're interested in becoming part of YCP, which we will be explaining shortly of the organization itself, you can click on that and then sign up and have access to the what do you call it, the networking event prior to the actual
speaking event. So it'll be a private meet and greet, and you'll also get first dibs on food if you come at 6:30. So
okay.
So we'll have a private meet and greet with Donald starting at 6:30. The event will be open to the general public starting at 7. And then Donald will be starting his talk around 7:15.
Okay.
And then everybody is invited to. So February 21st is actually Fat Tuesday.
I've never heard of that before. I've heard of Taco Tuesday, but
so Fat Tuesday is you've never heard of Fat Tuesday before? No? Okay.
No. Maybe I've been living under a rock. I have no idea.
Yeah. So Fat Tuesday is the day before Lent starts.
Okay. Okay. So
and that's what Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras is the other major term. So yeah, and it's called Fat Tuesday. I actually learned this yesterday.
Okay.
I was looking up some stuff. It's called Fat Tuesday. It's because typically, like most Christians or Catholics use Lent as a time of fasting, and that includes food, obviously.
Right.
So it's traditionally the traditional Fat Tuesday meal is like pancakes, bacon, sausage, like very fatty foods, right? So that's where Mardi Gras or the Tuesday before Lent gets the name Fat Tuesday from.
Now it makes sense. Okay. Yeah. So after the event, though.
So after the event with Donald, we'll be moving over to Offshore Tavern in Bay Park, and we'll have part of the patio for additional networking and grab a drink and kind of just
it's always fun.
Yeah.
Members only or
no? So that is open to the public.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Now let's go back into Donald, because I think that's a very I think that's spectacular that YCP San Diego had the opportunity to be able to have him speak for our members and, open to the public, but more particularly joined with our organization. So he's accomplished so much in his life being in the business world and the corporate world. And he's also, I think you mentioned he was a Marine, or he was a Marine in the past. He still is a Marine.
Yeah. So he was an artillery officer in the Marine Corps in the 70s. Nice. And basically from there, that's where he got his leg in the door in the business sector and went from there. And, some other really cool things, especially applicable to this channel are
baseball.
So Donald is a big baseball guy.
Okay.
Yeah. He actually, I talked to him. He had his hands in the renaming of the Houston Astros ballpark to Minute Maid Park.
No way.
He was actually the president of Minute Maid at the time. So
that's how he did it.
Yeah. So I guess you get to name your own baseball team when you're the president of Minute Maid Park.
For the stadium. Yeah.
Yeah. And then other than that, he was also like a very key player in keeping the Oakland Athletics in Oakland. So I'm planning to ask him when I see him if he knows Billy Beane, because I'm a huge Moneyball guy.
That movie's amazing. Brad Pitt played Billy Beane in it.
Yeah. So being a baseball guy, and then also I'm a little bit of a math nerd.
A little bit, a lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of bit of math nerd. Yeah. I love Moneyball. Actually, for a long time, that was like my dream job, was
predictive analytics.
Yeah, be a statistician for a Major League Baseball team.
That would be quite a good industry to be in, I think.
Yeah,
because I love stats too. I implement that in my workplace in real estate, so that's key right there.
That's a common factor that I actually find amongst fans of baseball. Is we all tend to be stats nerds. Yeah. We all want to see the data versus like in football, you don't look at how many tackles did that guy have during the game?
Except if you're in fantasy football, but yeah.
Yeah. If you're in fantasy football, obviously you're more interested in that. So,
but no, you have a good point there. Okay. So he's he's really well rounded then in terms of not just business but also served in the military, baseball.
Yeah, he's him and his wife both have a foundation where they provide and I can't think of the exact thing off my head, but they provide educational opportunities to several different people out there. I think he's like very involved in, you know, the cause of helping veterans transition from the military back into society, which I know can be a very rough thing to do. So,
okay, very good.
Yeah.
And he's also, is he Catholic or no?
He is Catholic.
Okay.
Yep.
Sweet.
So
makes sense why he partnered up with YCP on this.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're lucky enough that a former YCP president who's a close friend of mine just happened to know someone that knew Donald. And so through her, I was able to, convince Donald to come out to San Diego.
To do this?
Yeah, I don't think it's too hard to do that in the winter. So,
Yeah, because maybe he was already here, but I think it's a rather great way of running YCP and getting people involved and wanting to participate in these events by having these heavy hitters, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, the president that I was talking about was the president when I started to come to YCP events and has become a close friend of mine.
Right.
So just seeing that I guess the 6 degrees of separation there, that really shows at the level of opportunity that the community that YCP provides offers to anybody that's interested. So,
okay. I want to ask you if you can kind of provide a good explanation of what YCP is and things like that. But first, if you can kind of go over your career background, because I imagine, I mean, the audience doesn't know yet, but your background and what you do entails a lot of time into your industry, and I don't even see how you can find time for yourself. So if you can kind of go into that.
Yeah. So my background's in aerospace engineering, and currently I am a project engineer with the Navy. I directly support Marine Corps programs. And specifically, I'm kind of like the project manager in charge of shoulder-fired rockets. So if you've ever played Call of Duty, you've shot a small rocket or an RPG, that's kind of what I work with on a day-to-day basis right now. So
that's sweet.
It's been a really, really rewarding experience just from a professional level to work with the Marine Corps. I've gotten experience in, testing radars and looking at data from radars. I've gotten experience testing vehicles, and now most recently shoulder-fired rockets.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's really cool.
But it's a lot of math.
So yeah, there is a lot of math that's involved with it. So I don't directly do the math, actually. I just look at what the result is. But I am lucky enough that a couple times a year we get to go out there and shoot 200 to 300 rockets at a massive steel plate in the middle of nowhere.
That's
cool. Make it go boom. So
yeah, make it go boom.
Yeah.
Do you have to get a particular type of degree to be able to do this?
Yeah. So I am an aerospace engineer. I got my degree at the University of Florida. And then immediately after college, actually, I was looking for jobs on the East Coast, and I randomly got a phone call, and they were like, "Hey, you want to move to San Diego and test weapons?" And I was like,
"Why not?
Do I want to move to San Diego and test weapons?"
And, yeah,
yeah.
Very cool. So, how did you find yourself coming across YCP, considering all the stuff you're doing?
Yeah. So again, I just mentioned that I moved here from Florida. I didn't really know anybody when I moved out here. And when I moved out, I didn't know anybody. I was in a brand new place. I didn't know where things were. My faith life really started to suffer because of that. So, I grew up Catholic, and, my parents took me to church every week. I was, part of the youth groups, all that stuff. And then kind of, life just got busy. I went to college, had my mind on other things. And essentially what ended up happening was, here I was sitting no longer a practicing Catholic. I still prayed. I still believed in God, things like that. But I found myself lonely. And so luckily I met a friend, and that friend invited me to go to this YCP thing. And I was like, YCP, like, yeah, I don't know about that. But then they're like, oh, hey, it's at Ballast Point, and they're going to give you a free beer too.
Why not?
And I was like, I'm in. Sign me up.
That's how they hooked you.
Yeah. So I was shocked because, my expectations were not the highest. And I was shocked to just walk into a room of, 100 other people that were my age. That all seemed on fire for their faith.
Right.
And so the shock, number one, was excitement. And number two, it was also like dude, you're so far behind. Like you got to come back to the faith now.
I see. Now, do you have to be, I mean, you of course weren't at the time that you went to the first event at Ballast Point, but do you feel like to be part of YCP, you really have to be heavily involved in the church, or do they accept anyone?
Absolutely not. So like, anybody is welcome at a YCP event. I look at YCP as an open door into the faith. And YCP is kind of the conduit that, for people at all different levels of their faith. So,
that's awesome.
When I walked into YCP, I believed in God and I had a strong personal faith, but I didn't have a community. YCP helped me find a home parish, helped me meet a group of friends. It helped me meet, business contacts that I have to this day.
Yeah. I mean, it's all the networking that takes place there.
And really, I think it helped me grow into the person that I am today, which is why I decided to take on the role of president, because I really want to, provide that opportunity for others, because I know that, without YCP and the wonderful people that I've met through YCP, I would not be the man that I am today.
Excellent.
Professionally and personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a major leap that you took, but at the same time, I feel like everyone at YCP San Diego, and more in particular, since I've been to that one, and Orange County as well, everyone's really accepting and cool. I mean, it's not like, when I first went to one of the events, I had a different perspective on what it might be. I thought everyone was going to be honestly, everyone's going to have the Bible and they're going to be talking about Jesus. Not that that's bad, of course, but I thought that's what it was, simply that. But it's further from that. I mean, they involve prayer, they involve the church and things like that, but it's really young professionals to really network and be with people that are like-minded and have fun is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And learn in the business structure.
Yeah. I mean, for me, and I think that you could probably speak to this, it's really hard to quantify or provide that stat of black and white of how can I implement my faith into work. And going and listening to seasoned professionals, executives from around the area about their experiences, and then even getting challenges from them to the audience. Like one time, we were challenged by a speaker to, really hammer in and work on one of the cardinal virtues within our personal lives, and how can we implement that into work. And so, having that like foresight, I guess, that I don't necessarily have as a young professional, really, really has been advantageous. So
that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. How'd you get involved with YCP, Andrew?
So I didn't even know it existed, but I was fortunate enough to come across it because of a priest I met in Rome. So I went to the Vatican in August of last year with my fiance. She covered a story for one of the bishops becoming cardinal, or is it the other way around?
Yeah, bishops.
Yeah, right. But yeah, he became a cardinal here in San Diego. See, I'm still learning. So he became a cardinal. So she covered that story at the Vatican. And then I met two priests that were really, really cool. I got along with them, and they told me, "Have you heard of YCP?" I'm like, "No, what is that?" And they explained it to me. I was like, "Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun." And I decided to become a part of it because I've always been Catholic. I grew up Catholic, but as time went by and I got older and into my career, I kind of left that behind in a way. Still prayed, but didn't go to church much, and that's how I came across it. And I also feel that it's more important today than in many times in a way, because of how society is going away from God per se.
Yeah.
So like this country is Judeo-Christian over all the principles and values, but I feel like we're going away from that. So I kind of wanted to see what I can do to do my part in society to swing it back the other way.
Absolutely. And I think, you touched on a major issue with, society becoming secular, more secular by the day, essentially.
Right.
And I think that the primary issue in that you identified, and I also identified through my story, is that there is a stopgap in the church between like, hey, we're in high school and we're in youth group, to like, hey, now I'm like 40 and have kids, right? And it's like, hey, what happens in between there? Like, there's a lot of growing that happens as people, right? But like, if you have that guidance to really kind of, at least be like, yeah, I still go to church every day. So through YCP, I meet tons of people that are 24, 25,
right,
that are still very faithful and things like that. And I just sit there and I think to myself, like, man, like this person is like 10 years ahead of where I am in maturity wise. But I think that YCP and other programs like YCP really provide that like kind of structure for people to stay with the church throughout all of that, which I think, as we continue to grow and grow, a big issue within the Catholic Church is age. Because you go to a lot of churches and the average age is like 74. Grandma Myrtle.
Oh, you're talking about the age of the parishioners.
Yeah.
Okay.
Through organizations like YCP and other young adult organizations, I'm pretty heavily involved with Catholic sports here in San Diego.
Oh, cool. I didn't even know that they had that.
Yeah. So we have there's sports leagues here in San Diego for Catholics, through things like that. And also there's like a lot of really good Christian churches that have a very solid foundation of things that they provide for young people too, which are also awesome to go to. But yeah, through that, I think that that's how we continue to build the faith. And if we can have more people like Donald come speak to us and be like, hey, guess what? These are the mistakes that I made in life. And so like, here's how to avoid them. Or like, hey, this is, these were the examples that I had of good leaders. Here's where I think an issue is. I would like your generation to implement this. We grow a stronger foundation of Christian and Catholic men and women, or just, a stronger foundation of men and women in general,
right?
That are really going to push us to up our game and improve as a society.
100%. And these seasoned professionals that are out here giving a lot of YCP members that wisdom that we need to thrive in our careers and our personal and spiritual life. Do these events take place on a quarterly basis at YCP, or how's that? What's the structure with that?
So here in San Diego, we offer monthly events, and we're actually looking into potentially having more than one event per month, just like informal happy hours.
Okay.
A group that goes to trivia on a Wednesday night or something like that. But yeah, we have monthly events. There's the executive speaker series, which is
we're having that a lot.
Donald come speak at that. Before we've had, the chief of medicine at various hospitals in the area. We've had, senior partners at their law firms. We've had people that are, the CEOs of engineering organizations that they founded. So they're engineers by trade.
So there's a lot of mentorship involved throughout this, even amongst the members, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Even amongst members.
That's great. That's
like I said, the gap is, from essentially fresh out of college to 40, and loosely 40. If you're over 40, you still come, please.
That's why it's tailored specifically to 20 and 30-year-old professionals.
Yeah. Okay. And through that, even within that population, it's very easy for me to go and have, if if there's somebody that comes up to me that's 23 or 24 and looking for some guidance, like I could even provide that. And I can look at people that, you know, are these professionals. We have a mentorship database actually nationally. So you can go search by career field or what someone's position is.
Really?
And you can like reach out to people. You could reach out to somebody if you're an investment banker. You could reach out to somebody in New York City that's like in charge of a hedge fund at Merrill Lynch and be like, hey, how's it going? Like, let's have some virtual coffee someday.
So that takes place in the system of YCP.
So that's part of what the membership provides.
Okay, so it's not just happy hour and these executive speaker series, which is obviously amazing, and the whole, you know, being around like-minded people, but it's also the actual one-on-one mentorship that takes place. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely. So then
everyone should get a membership. If you're listening, you should definitely go to YCP San Diego, which we'll put on the link. Visit that and become a member. I think that's a major plus right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Aside from that, we're looking at implementing this year, like I said, more smaller, informal happy hours, things like that. Which happy hours are part of our quarterly main events. Is we have large happy hours. Like I mentioned, I went to one at Ballast Point. We've had them at AleSmith before. Local breweries from the area, where you can just go after work, have a couple appetizers.
That's great.
Yeah, exchange information with some people. Like for you, you're a real estate agent. I imagine that's like prime for the picking.
It is definitely something that's will come into fruition as I continue being part of this and going to these amazing events. It's really quite enjoyable, to be honest.
Yeah, I like I said, just the energy.
The energy's great, and it just comes up in conversation about what we do for a living, right? And then these friendships build, and I've really enjoyed it. Before we wrap up, I want to ask you, because you're on full count, your full count moment.
Yeah, so
you said you were an umpire, right, before?
Yeah, I've been an umpire, which actually I received some encouragement when I was in college to, you know, how they have like the minor league system.
Right.
So they have a umpire school, and they have a minor league system similarly for the umpires.
I had no idea about that.
And I was actually encouraged by some people to go to 2 years of umpire school.
No way. You did that?
No, I didn't do that. I didn't do it because I was an aerospace engineering major at the time. And I'm like, well, I've spent 4 years doing engineering school. Why would I like go and potentially get stuck in like AA or something like that? But yeah, I love baseball. Always been a big baseball fan. And umpiring baseball is truly a unique experience. If you ever have the opportunity, I highly suggest going and becoming an official of any sport. It teaches you so many transferable skills to life that it's just amazing.
Patience and pressure is all of it.
Patience, pressure, conflict management.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So did you have any full count moments there? Like, and when I ask you a full count in terms of like pressure moments where you had a problem and you succeeded, or maybe you didn't succeed, but you learn from it, from the mistake, whether it's in career, whether currently being an umpire at the time, you did that for a little bit, or even being a president of YCP San Diego.
Yeah. So I'll get to the president thing in a minute, but I would say in my career, part of what I do is if there is an ammunition malfunction, essentially we're tasked with investigating, was the ammunition or the weapon the cause of the malfunction? So say somebody gets hurt,
right?
You know, we are part of the response team that goes in and looks at, you know, the evidence from the weapon and the ammo perspective to see if it has affected that. So a couple years ago,
as like an investigator, kind of you take that role for that moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a couple years ago, there was a SMAW is a system where there's a rocket container, and the rocket's in the container. You take it and you kind of like screw it in the launcher, and then you put the launcher on your shoulder, and you fire it.
Okay.
Well, so there was a rocket container that blew up on a Marine's shoulder.
Oh shoot.
And so luckily it was a practice rocket, so it was training, so there wasn't a live warhead in it.
Good.
But there was still propellant and things like that. So
yeah.
the Marine ended up getting hurt. But essentially I was contacted and told, hey, like, guess what? And I was like 28 at the time. And it was like, hey, like this thing happened and you're the lead technical person on this investigation. And so that was a little overwhelming.
Yeah, that sounds like a big shoes to fill to solve that.
Yeah, especially since like the way things work, that was like kind of eliminated a training capability for the Marines, which is going to inhibit, their capability in the field ultimately.
Okay.
So there was a lot of pressure in that scenario.
So how did you overcome that pressure at that young age, and obviously that being a major problem on your shoulders that you had to solve?
Yeah. So actually, my faith life weighed heavily into it. So I knew I was going to have to grind, right? Like there were many nights where I was in the office until midnight, 1 a.m., like just searching through stuff. But I prayed a lot about it, and I asked for God's guidance and helping me to solve this issue and essentially prevent it from happening again. So the unfortunate side effect of that was that we ended up developing a test to look at 4 key areas that I was pretty sure one of those 4 areas was causing the issue. Unfortunately, during the test, we were unable to really determine if any of those 4 issues singularly caused an issue. But based on the identified issues, we were able to implement engineering changes into like the specs and how they're designed for the future to prevent that from ever happening again.
Got it. So that's how you that's how you solved it then, but you weren't able to find out the specific reason on why.
No, so we weren't able to like really get a red herring right on like, oh hey, the weapon or the ammo did cause this. So essentially what ended up happening is then after we did those 4 specific tests, we went in and we just functionally tested a bunch of them. And we did not just to see if we were going to see the failure again, even. And you didn't. And we didn't.
That's good.
So then at that point where, we were confident enough to tell the Marine Corps, hey, these are safe to use.
Right. Okay.
So,
well, I mean, that sounds like a lot of time went into it then. So you're saying prayer helped you overcome.
Prayer helped me manage the stress because obviously that was like a massively stressful situation.
Right. Because if your head's not on straight and you're not thinking clearly, you wouldn't have came to the conclusion of how to solve it.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And I would say other than that, even utilizing tools, because part of that process is interviewing people. So even utilizing transferable skills, that's a big thing that I love to use is like throughout your life, you develop a set of transferable skills where you can, apply them anywhere.
Right.
I was able to, with my team, obviously, we were able to kind of like develop a mindset where, we knew that we wanted to really look at specific detail and go as deep as you possibly can to try to identify the problem. And through that, we're able to improve the process for the future.
Excellent.
So
prayer works.
Yeah. Hopefully that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. It makes sense. It basically, it just came down to doing what you do as a project manager, but having your head on straight.
Yeah.
Praying.
Exactly. So yeah, just praying, putting my faith in God, working out. I recommend working out and physical fitness to anybody that's stressed out.
Right. Well, good. Any last words you want to say about YCP or the event or anything like that?
February 21st at the University of San Diego, Knauss School of Business, at the Nexus Theater. The event starts at 7 to the public. And if you're interested in joining as a member, there's a private meet and greet with Donald Knauss, the former CEO of Clorox and COO of Coca-Cola North America, at 6:30. And I know Andrew's going to be there, so I hope to see you guys there too.
Yes, I will definitely be there. I'm excited to see you all. Hope as many people can join. I will have, again, the website in the description, so you can click on that and see more information.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thanks for having me, Andrew.
Yeah, man. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, absolutely. I like what you're doing here.
Thank you.
Yeah.